Hello and welcome. It takes talent to be called the best jazz and rock drummer in India, a country of more than 1 billion people. Brought up in a family of classically trained artists, he found it hard to stay in college and easy to sit at the drum kit. This week on One on One, meet India's drumming maestro, Ranjit Barot. I may be Indian, but I dream in English, he says. And that may be because Ranjit Barot was born in the UK before being raised mostly in India. His mother, Srimati Sitara Devi, one of the country's highly recognized classical dancers, played an influential role in getting the young Ranjit to appreciate the arts. An acclaimed drummer, Barot has toured the world and played with some of the top musicians from both East and West. In recent years, Bollywood has placed its demands on him, keeping him busy composing music for about 30 Indian films. He says his challenge is to find the delicate balance introducing new sounds while not alienating the masses. One of Barot's main passions remains nurturing young talent in his country, which he says will help put India at the forefront of the musical world in the years to come. Ranjit, you've been described as India's best drummer, or at least jazz and rock drummer, and yet I've read an article that says Ranjit continues to defy description. I presume they're talking about your drumming, of course. How would you describe your style?
Well, I started out playing rock and roll, probably like every other young drummer. I think the confusion lies in the fact that I've become very sort of choosy, with whom I play with. I mean, I stopped doing gigs unless people want to rehearse. They want to take some time out. And everyone here is like, oh, what are you doing tomorrow? We got this corporate gig here and, come and fill in. And so I was, sort of out of sight for a while. And that's probably written by a reporter who never came for any of my gigs. And that happens, journalism by proxy. I've had somebody write, Ranjit was fantastic on lead guitar. No, there's still, I think, a lot of ignorance here about, especially fusion and Western crossover music. I think people, haven't come to terms with that duality yet.
When you compose and when you perform then, who do you have in mind? Who are your listeners?
Well, I tend to be a little naive. I have this notion that there's only two kinds of music and two kinds of food, good music, bad music. I don't think people walk in. If you're honest and you're having fun doing it, I think the people pick up on that, I don't think you have to design your music for people, and I think that's for record companies to do, and label their bins so they can market all these various things, yeah.
Then let me ask you what you think of the sort of crossover craze, some might call it, but certainly the crossover interest there is, where music and films are not purely Eastern or particularly Indian, and they're not purely Western either.
I think there's probably, and I say this, I've thought about it a lot, I think there's a handful of people in India that understand how to be completely at ease with your ethnicity and yet be able to relate to the rest of the world in a language they understand. I grew up in a classical family, and why did I choose the drum set? I don't know if it had anything to do with me being born in the UK. I wasn't interested in music. I left when I was 9. I came back. I was just like any other school kid. But when I started playing drums, I didn't automatically start transposing Indian stuff on the drum set. I needed to learn the language of that instrument. And in fact, I had a kind of a thing that I wanted to talk to the white man on his terms, on my terms. Play the drum set, not play da-da-da-da-da. No, I wasn't interested in doing that.
Yeah, I've heard you say that, I'm Indian, but I dream in English.
Yeah.
What do you mean specifically by that?
I mean specifically that we express our deepest fears, anxieties, and joys in English. We do. Most of the people I've grown up with went to the same school or college, and we all communicated in English. We were all from different parts of India. The band I toured Europe with the first time in 1980 were some guys from South India, somebody from North India, and yet we all spoke English. That was the only language we could communicate in. I didn't understand a word of their native tongue. I had no idea what they were saying. They could have been abusing me backstage for all I knew.
They probably were.
They probably were. But, English was the only language we could communicate in. So I think there's something about that,
So give me an example. I've heard you sort of beat out rhythms with your mouth, or for how you might want someone to play or something. So give me an example of how you might have done it before and how you might do it now.
Well, I mean, the traditional way, we have like if you had some groove happening, tata titi tadi gena tom tadi gena tadi gena tadi gena. Now these are traditional, but I'm actually hearing drum and bass with this, and it would be incredible if I could work with somebody, and instead of having the whole drum and bass thing, so I think we're able to make it more contemporary somehow. We're able to demystify that music and not make it classical. I don't want it to be this other element in the music. I want it to be symbiotic. And I think I'm more capable now of doing it.
Is it a natural fusion, though, or are you having to force things together?
No, if you force it, you will hear it. I think all we're doing is expressing this duality that we have within us. I mean, I'm very Indian. I do puja. I go to Tirupati. And I also believe that people can have babies without being married, I mean, but I think I'm at peace with these different cultures that exist in me, and I express that in the music.
Let me take you through your background a little bit. You were born into a family, as you said, that was focused on music and the arts. Yes. Your mother was a legendary Kathak dancer, and Sitara Devi.
Yes.
How did she regard you? I mean, she wanted you to be academic in the first instance, I gather.
I think it was predominantly because she knew that being an artist, you can be the flavor of the month. There's no health plan, there's no dental, So I think she saw the pitfalls that exist in an artist's life. And she comes from, a small place up in Varanasi, and it's a big deal for them, man, if you're a doctor. And the fact that I was born in the UK, I mean, it was like, every time I came back for a vacation, I was treated like a prince just because I was born there. So, yeah, she wanted me to be academic. And
did she, discourage you?
She wasn't militant. It wasn't like that. But, she said, try and do something here. And, of course, somebody gave me a pair of drumsticks when I was 14, and that was it.
Well, do you remember your first drum kit?
Yeah, I do, actually. Somebody had a small kit in the school, and the first day I played, I knew my life had changed. Really, it sounds cliche, but I knew. And a friend of mine said, well, where I got this in this shop in Dadar. So I took a bus to the shop, and I went one day, I went the second day, I tried it out, and then I summoned the courage, and I told my mother, well, I got to have this, She says, you play? I said, of course I play. And it was like a secret life for a while. But once she knew how committed I was, she said.
What were the pressures on being the son of what was a very famous dancer, especially at the time she was like top dancer?
Well, not too much, really. I mean, there were some family friends and other musicians that wanted me to be a classical musician and play tabla, though. And the late, great Ustad Alaraka Khan Sahab was a good friend of my mother's, and he would come over, and of course, I got completely infected with his rhythmic approach. He was a master, and I think that was a great blessing for me to spend some time with him. But drum set was the one for me, I mean.
What role did your father play in your life?
My parents separated by the time I was about 9.5. And I spent some time in England with him, and he worked with BOAC before it became British Airways. Yeah. And he'd do like night shift and stuff. So not much interaction. There was some, but I think we became friends later, my dad and I. And I guess I'm lucky that my disposition is such that I didn't carry much baggage. I mean, I was open. One day we met, and yes, and we picked up just exactly where we left off, and he's very much a part of my life now. I go to the UK, I stay at his place. So
how has that affected the way you treat your family? Because you've been very much a family man.
I think I saw the price people have to pay to be great artists. And I think somewhere I asked myself, is that a crutch? Is that an excuse to get out of putting in the time to be a great artist? I haven't answered that question yet. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, it was very important that I have a family before I actually, I'm not ambitious.
Your wife, Maya, is very understanding. What particular qualities does she have to be able to put up with? What is, you're very sort of
Yeah,
rebellious. You do your own thing.
yeah. I think she comes from a completely different background, a very, very simple South Indian family, but, great values and fantastic. The best people I know come from her family. They're incredible human beings. Though I suspect she's as rebellious and as off the wall in that context. So I think it's fine. It's fine.
And you
She's
focus.
the hippie in that family. As much as anyone can be a hippie in that family, she is.
And of course, you've been very focused on bringing up your daughter,
Yes.
Malika, and to some extent have, as you say, sacrificed the sort of a chance for a huge international career
Yeah.
to focus on family. Does that
Yes.
haunt you at all?
No. No, because I feel that it's kind of a good time for me now to step out and travel. My family's fine with it. I'm fine with it. And I think it's probably the right time because India's at an interesting place musically and culturally. And I think, yeah, no, I don't have any regrets. No.
Well, Ranji, we're going to get onto that in just a moment. Your defining moments. Stay
right.
with us. You're watching One on One. We're talking with Indian drummer Ranjit Barot. We'll be back in just a second.